Trudy, what are we expecting today? This is the launch of really a campaign, isn't it?
It is. This is not a government event per se, Laura, but instead the official launch of the Yes 23 campaign. But you'll be forgiven for thinking that it wasn't. The Prime Minister, basically the headline speaker here, is using this big rally. More than 400 people, we're told, expected to attend in Adelaide. The Prime Minister will use his speech to finally confirm the date when we will head to the ballot box. We're widely expecting that to be October 14. It'll be a big surprise if it is not that date when he stands on his feet. He'll be joined by senior Labor figures from his own cabinet, the South Australian Premier Peter Malinauskas, crucially key Indigenous leaders who've been pushing for a very long time to have this Uluru Statement from the Heart implemented by government. Let's look at the state of play as we head into today's announcement as to where the polls are tracking. This is the latest news poll. Expect a lot more of this during the campaign. You can see nationally, no is trailing, but there is still that no and yes, really. No one's got a majority at the moment. There's that big cohort of undecided voters. But crucially, even if yes gets over 50%, they need at least 4 states. So you can see there it's an uphill battle for the yes side in Western Australia and Queensland. They're confident, though, that they can hold on to the other 4, and that would be enough to change the constitution and enshrine an Indigenous voice to Parliament. Last hour, we heard from former AFL legend Michael Long. He's recreating that long walk to Canberra, explaining why he believes a voice to Parliament is so important.
You've got to be optimistic. I think Australians are better than this, and we need to leave this country in a better state, when we do leave. So it's about our children, our grandchildren, about our communities, a representative and a voice, more importantly. And if we're ever going to get anything right as a nation, we've got to work together.
Yeah, impassioned pleas, absolutely, from some of the yes camp, the no, just as passionate. But how's this going to be different from what we see at federal elections, Trudy?
Well, Laura, the Prime Minister is making it clear, and even the opposition leader, they're not going to be out day in, day out like we see during a federal election. We're not going to see the usual buses and planes crisscrossing the country. Politicians, make no mistake, will be making the case for this, but this is crucially also a ground game. Another really interesting way the Yes campaign is trying to persuade voters is these shows of bipartisanship. This was Bill Shorten, the former Labor leader and minister, side by side with the Greens leader Adam Bent. If this was a normal election, they would be fighting tooth and nail between these two parties to win these crucial seats in Melbourne. I'll also show you what's happening in the last hour or so. Here in the nation's capital, we've seen the 2 senators in Katie Gallagher from Labor, David Pocock, the Teal Independent senator, both on the streets of Canberra handing out these yes pamphlets. It's worth noting, Laura, that for Territorians, their vote doesn't matter in terms of whether the territory votes yes or no. They're just added to that national figure.
Yeah, that's right, and there is that's right. It's we should remind viewers of that because it's just the states that are included in the majority. You need a double majority, which is a majority of the states and a majority of Australians overall. So when it comes to the NT, the individual votes are counted in one of those. Now, finally, what is the latest from the no camp?
Well, the No Camp, Laura, I'm told, is not holding a rival rally. They're not trying to steal the attention away with a duelling event at the same time. They're still making their case, and we heard from Jacinta Price this morning that she believes the No Camp face a David and Goliath battle in terms of the resourcing that will go towards the yes side. We're seeing it even with the ground game, that the yes side has more volunteers at the moment. Last night, we heard from former Liberal Prime Minister John Howard on Sky News. He was one of the, he was the last Prime Minister, I should say, when we actually had a referendum that on the Republic. He said last night with Shari that he wants anyone who's thinking of voting no to ignore the avalanche of information, in his word, that'll come at them.
As somebody who wants it to be defeated and defeated resoundingly in every state, I would encourage no voters to maintain the rage, if I can draw on a phrase that's well known in Australian politics.
So there you have it, maintain the rage from John Howard there. Later today, I'm told, Laurie, we will hear from Peter Dutton. I'd be curious to see if he wants to maintain that rage too.